They didn't give the car description in this breaking news report, but they didn't have to. Irv said it was in this very moment he knew this was going to be the beginning of a nightmare.
Oh my God.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, Rach.
Thanks.
Did you see that Karen Reed was found guilty?
Oh my God, no. Wait, are you serious?
No.
Oh my God. I was like, there's no way.
We're on hour 5 of deliberations.
Yeah.
But the jury is deliberating, but I knew that you had a busy day, and I knew you wouldn't have seen it. So
No. And I'm like, that would have popped up on my phone anyway.
No.
Hell no.
I know.
Wow. Good start. Fake news. Talk about fake news.
Fake news.
Here you are reporting bullshit.
Well, by the time this airs,
oh yeah,
surely the jury will have a verdict.
What if they have another mistrial?
God.
Wow.
I'm going to jump right in though. We don't have, this is a long one. I think.
Yeah, I've been warned that it's long, and Rebecca said she is 100% going to cry in it. So.
I'm going to try not to. I've read through it we'll see. Does that make you so uncomfortable?
Let it rip, girl. Let it rip. We can talk it through.
I am. Yeah. All right. I am telling you today about Mary Stauffer.
Okay.
And there is a trigger warning that it does involve a child.
Oh shit. My next week does too. Sorry, y'all.
Oh, it does?
But not the child's okay. She's okay. She's good. And it's not, well, never mind. But wow, we wouldn't have normally done that back to back. We don't tell each other. We just, I know. Gotta.
Here we go.
Yeah. We don't warn each other of what we're doing, really.
Sources are a book that I read. It was actually the first book I've read, like page by page for a story. Usually if I buy a book, I'm like, I have to make it quick and kind of, skip some chapters. No, yeah. This one I read through and through. I will say the title in a little bit. It's by Eileen Bridgman.
Okay. Yeah. There's always, inevitably, if there's a book about it, there's a couple of chapters about the history of the town.
Yeah.
What industry got that town there. You got to skip it. We only have about a week to do these things,
I know.
So there you go. Wow, though.
Court documents, People Magazine, Star Tribune, Pioneer Press, and TwinCities.com.
Okay, this seems like a big one, but I don't know that name.
Yeah, well, it was 1980. It might sound familiar as I go.
Okay.
In 1980, 36-year-old Mary Stauffer and her husband Irv Stauffer lived in Arden Hills outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. They have 2 children, 8-year-old Beth and 4-year-old Stephen. And Mary and Irv are missionaries and previously lived in the Philippines, establishing a church there, and moved to Minnesota because that's where Bethel College and Seminary is, which is where Baptist General Conference is headquartered.
Wow. Okay.
That's the ministry Mary and Irv are a part of. So at this point, they'd been in Minnesota for about 2 years, living in an apartment on Bethel College campus, and were planning to move back to the Philippines in May of 1980 for a 4-year missionary assignment. So that's what they did, as most missionary families do. They moved to different countries for a few years, come back home for a few years. And while at home, Irv was a pastor and Mary was a 9th grade algebra teacher at Alexander Ramsey High School in Roseville, Minnesota. One Sunday in March of 1980, Irv announced to the congregation that in just a couple of months, he and the fam were planning to move back to the Philippines again for a 4-year mission. Did I already say that?
Yeah. Yeah, you already told me that.
So he told the congregation that they were planning to move back to the Philippines. But what Irv didn't know was that Mary's boyfriend was in the crowd listening to this.
Oh, shit.
And that his announcement was Mary's sign to her boyfriend that it was time. Time to rescue her from her unfulfilled life with Irv so she could be with her former student who she had been having an affair with for the last 15 years.
No, thank you.
His name was Ming.
Okay. How old is he?
Well, at this time, he's 30. but it's been going on for 15 years. So this
Oh,
started when he was
shit.
15.
That is disgusting.
Ming Sen Shiue was born in 1950 in Taiwan to May and I'm going to butcher his father's name, Chim Jian. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jian. Everyone called him Jim.
Oh, good.
So we'll just say May and Jim Shiue.
Mm-hmm.
May was a mathematician and Jim was a forestry researcher in Taiwan and the author of a ton of biology and conservation research articles. Their goal was always to move to the United States, and they weren't planning to have any more children unless they could be raised in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, that opportunity came when Ming was 7 years old. Jim got the opportunity to be head of the forestry department at the University of Minnesota. And Mei Shiue his mom, was hired by the university as a professor, but her career was put on pause when she had her second and third kids.
Mm-hmm.
They were also boys named Charles and Ron.
Okay.
They had this cute little
baby Ron. I love
I know.
A baby with a very adult name.
I know. And they wanted to give them Western names since they were being raised in the US, which Ming always hated. So I'm like, how'd y'all land on Ron?
Let's revisit Ron real quick.
They had this cute little stucco house, though, in a great neighborhood in Roseville with a little porch and a vegetable garden. And to May and Jim, this was the perfect home for their new life in America. So they were amped.
Those are great jobs. I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they did well. Ming and his brothers didn't have the best relationship. Again, Ming hated that they got Western names and he didn't. So his resentment really built up, which became very apparent when their father, Jim, was diagnosed with cancer and died only 2 years later when Ming was 11 years old.
Oh, sad.
When they found out it was terminal, Jim told Ming that in Chinese tradition, as the oldest child, he would become the head of the household. Mm-hmm. And it was his responsibility to help take care of his little brothers and his mom. And as an 11-year-old, he interpreted that as his little brothers had to do whatever he said. So he would boss them around or threaten to beat them up until they got old enough to tell him to buzz off, which is what they did. But they never really found mutual ground after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even though the Shiues were pretty comfortable financially, Ming felt as the head of the household, he should have a job. So he got a Sunday morning paper route at the age of 14 to earn some money. So May would drive him to his assigned apartment complexes and wait for him in the car while he dropped off the newspapers, and she'd take him home. Mm-hmm. Then he entered high school.
That sucks for her. Sorry, I just thought about that.
How long?
That sucks. Yes. I'm like, I didn't sign up for this job.
I know. He wants to contribute, though.
I know. It's very nice.
I'd
be like, no,
she's like,
you got a bike,
sure,
right?
I'll support you.
Oh,
do it.
Poor May.
Let's do this. Let's get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Then he entered high school. He was in 9th grade when he had Mary Stauffer as his algebra teacher. She was young and pretty, and he was immediately attracted to her.
Ugh.
And
I'm so mad at her.
And the feelings soon became mutual. She wasn't satisfied in her marriage. To her, it was a very mundane life with Irv. Ming was on the baseball team, the football team, very smart. His IQ for general intelligence was in the better than average range, around 120. But in technical and memory, he scored a 135, which is the upper 1% of the general population. Yeah. So with this well-rounded, bright student coupled with her unhappy marriage with Irv, and Mary became very attracted to Ming. And the line was eventually crossed at a school dance after the big football game.
Stop.
It was a Friday night, and Ming actually made the game-winning touchdown. So that night, he took a cheerleader, Lori, to the dance, and Mary was chaperoning it. At the punch bowl, Mary gave him props for how well he played that day, and Lori noticed the lingering eye contact that she gave, along with a graze of his arm.
Okay. How old is she at this point?
21 when she started teaching him. She's like 6 years older than him, 6 to 7 years older than him.
Disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just so inappropriate. I don't know how you get there.
I know.
This poor kid. Well, I mean, considering how the story started, I know something bad's about to happen, and probably his responsibility for whatever that is. But wow, at this point, He is a full-on kid.
Yeah. Yeah. He's 15 years old.
Yeah. Gross.
So then Mary shoots Lori, this student, a look, like a get lost bitch look. So when she and Ming walked away, she immediately addressed the fact that Mary wants him. Miss Stauffer wants to jump your bones, she says. And at first he's like, no, she's my teacher. That's bullshit. But then he rejects Lori's attempt to kiss. And she gets really upset thinking it's because of Mary and like he's entertaining it. So an argument ensues and she storms out of the dance. And who is there to swoop in?
This
Mary
predator.
Stauffer. She approaches Ming and asks him to help her carry some heavy boxes to her car. He does it. And then she asks him if he would come over after the dance to help her bring them inside. Irv was traveling, by the way.
Okay.
So after the dance, he goes over there and she is in a nightie, sitting in a very seductive way on the couch. He caves into temptation and they have sex.
Okay.
But their relationship was kept a very big secret all throughout high school and beyond. Ming goes on to graduate #1 in his class of 503 students.
Wow.
And was voted most likely to succeed. So,
sure.
Yeah. He enrolled in the University of Minnesota, but about a year into it, he failed a calculus test and he dropped out of school altogether.
What?
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic. Y'all
He
don't have
felt
freshmen.
pressure.
Yeah, y'all don't have freshman forgiveness up at Minnesota.
Oh, right.
Because I cashed my freshman forgiveness and because I failed calculus, which is weird.
Really?
Because it went on to be like the easiest subject for me. I don't know what happened there freshman year, but that's something at Ole Miss where they like wipe the slate clean if you fail a class. Doesn't go into your GPA. You get. I think you actually get 2 of them.
No way.
I think you do. And I used mine freshman year. And you can use it at any time. And you say, hey, strike that from my record. And they're like, okay.
What's going on with you?
Carl
John had you distracted?
Distracted with going out, man. Penny pitchers at billiards. What do you mean?
That's right. Penny pitchers.
Disgusting.
Gross.
Oh my God.
All right. So he dropped out. He was, I don't know what happened there. Very dramatic move, but whatever. He excelled in everything electronics though. Servicing audio, video, and stereo equipment was his craft. And he rocked it so much that in 1971, at 21 years old, he opened a retail electronics business called Sound Equipment Services, Inc. And it became very successful, eventually being valued at $250,000, which is about $1 million today. In fact, it was so successful that in 1979, Bell and Howell, which was the leading supplier for media equipment at the time, tried to recruit him to work in their research and development department in Chicago. But he turned it down because he didn't want to leave Mary. They were always together and when Irv was working or traveling. And by this point, Irv and Mary had the 2 kids together. So it was a full-on double life. She told Ming she knew it was wrong being a devout Christian to cheat on her husband, but she couldn't help falling in love with him. And that's when they came up with a plan to finally be together after 15 years. Again, at this point, Ming is 30, Mary's 36, going on 37.
Okay. Lady, the affair isn't even the worst of it.
No.
As a devout Christian. What are you talking about? You're raping a kid.
An affair is legal.
Yeah. I mean, it's wrong, but that's not the thing you should be worried about. You're raping a child?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So May 16th, 1980 was 5 days before they were supposed to leave for the Philippines. Mary had scheduled an appointment for her 8-year-old daughter, Beth, to get her haircut. When leaving the salon around 4:30 p.m., they're walking to Mary's car, talking about the fresh hairdo or something. And that's when Ming approaches them. He presses a gun to 8-year-old Beth's head and looks at Mary, demanding she open the door and drive. Mary's eyes filled up with tears and terror because she has no idea who this man is.
What?
Because everything I just told you about this relationship was created in Ming's head.
Stop.
And he has been fantasizing about this moment for the last 15 years.
What? I have chills. What?
Yep.
Oh my God. Wait. I take back, I cut everything I said up until this point. Literally,
No,
mute
Jacob,
me.
don't.
Mute
No.
me the entire time. I'm such a bitch. I was just dogging her.
I know. That's why I was like, I was on the fence about doing it this way because I was like, oh shit, she.
I'm really late into her. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary.
I know
Wow.
it's not your fault; it's mine.
Wow.
So let's go back a little bit.
Okay, I do not know this one. Your sources were so big. I'm like, I'm gonna know it.
I know.
Nope.
No. We'll get back a little bit. When Ming was growing up, he had some very strange behavioral issues. In 1964, at 14 years old, he was arrested for lighting fires in the apartment complex where he delivered newspapers. When police questioned him about it, he said, I can't control myself. I have pressures in my head that make me do things. And they're like, yikes, kid. And they take him before a judge of the juvenile court, and he was sentenced to probation under the condition that he would undergo a psychiatric exam and receive counseling, which, okay, Minnesota judge in the 60s?
Oh, sure.
This was like prime. Let's sweep it under the rug. I feel
Yeah, and like shock therapy.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
hook
true.
them up to the machines.
That's true.
Wow.
But way to
But, okay.
address a red flag when you see one.
Sure, but what kind of fire? How big are these fires? What type
Big
of
enough
fires
to
are we
be
talking?
arrested for arson. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So after this evaluation, they deemed him a potential danger to others and admitted him to an adolescent mental health unit for further observation. Psychiatrists were having a consultation with May to discuss any other concerning behavior that she's experienced, and she confided in them about an incident that is so disturbing and repulsive.
Oh, God.
She said that for the last 6 months, Ming had been sneaking into her room while she was sleeping.
No.
And she figured this out because one time she was startled awake from a deep sleep and saw that he had cut a hole in her underwear and was under the blanket with a flashlight looking at her vagina.
Oh, my God. What?
Yeah. And doctors are like, the hell did you just, what?
Oh, my God.
After further evaluations, the doctors determined that Ming was mentally disturbed.
I'll say.
Yeah. And recommended that he would extend his stay in the facility to keep getting help because his bizarre ideations would likely escalate if not treated. That's what they said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think how it works is the social worker is supposed to tell the probation officer this recommendation, who then turns around and tells the judge so he can make the call.
Uh-oh, someone dropped the ball.
Yep.
Shit.
The social worker and his probation officer had beef. So this was never relayed to the judge. And I don't know what the beef was. All the book said was they had a personal conflict and didn't really communicate. So I don't know if it was the social worker that was instructed to tell the probation officer and she or he said, fuck that guy, I'm not telling him shit. Or the social worker told the probation officer and the PO said, fuck that social worker, I'm not telling the judge shit. But someone dropped the ball.
These are two grown-ass adults, right?
Right.
Okay.
Seems very petty, especially when you're dealing with a young boy's mental health issues.
Right.
Let's put it aside. Put it aside.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it was never conveyed to the judge. So at his first hearing in September of 1964, the judge discharged him from his probation and his treatment. No notes. You've done great, kid. Now get out there and be somebody.
There you go. Bye-bye. I don't want to see you in here again.
Right.
Oh, God. This is terrible.
I know. So he was discharged, which was just in time for him to start freshman year of high school, where he took algebra and first laid his eyes on 21-year-old Mary Stauffer. He became obsessed with her, needless to say.
Right.
He was convinced he was in love with her, and even scarier, was convinced that she was in love with him too. Somehow he was able to keep all of this under wraps. He really was on the baseball team, the football team, number one in his class, most likely to succeed, all of that.
Until you have that first algebra test or whatever you failed in college.
That was in college, yeah. But what no one knew at the time is when he got home from school every day, he would write about his fantasies for hours. There was about 1,200 pages of them over the course of a 10 to 12 year period.
Oh my God.
One of them being about their first encounter after a school dance. That was a paraphrased version of his erotica. There was no Lori, the cheerleader. None of that happened, obviously.
Okay, Lori doesn't even exist?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, that was just in his writings.
God, this is like terrifying,
It's
actually. I hate
so
this.
scary.
I hate this so much. Oh, Mary, I just feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I should not have been talking so much shit.
I know. But that's okay. You didn't know.
God, his poor mom. What do you do?
Oh, God. I was in this book, I'm like, I'm so proud of her for like, that would be weird to see your son down there, obviously. But again, in the 60s, I would think she'd be like, boys will be boys. God, they're just curious about vagina. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Ugh,
But
it's-
it turns out she's a real enabler. I mean, again,
Oh,
I don't.
damn it.
Well,
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. But and the whole time I was feeling very sad for her and sorry for her, and I still do. But a lot of people are like, including his doctors, are like, this broad's an enabler.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we'll get there.
It's her baby, though. Oh, whatever.
I
Okay,
know,
keep going. Keep
I
going.
know. So we soon learn from these writings that his ideal woman, his fetish, if you will, were sitcom moms of the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Oh my God. What are you talking about?
So bizarre. Julie Andrews from Sound of Music is specifically named.
Oh, wow.
As is
Leave it to
Florence Henderson.
Oh, duh.
Mrs. Brady made an appearance.
Obviously.
I mean, they're great, but you'd think a teenager in the 70s would go, Bridget Bardot, Grace Jones, Farrah Fawcett.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Maureen McCormick. Go Marsha Brady.
Oh, yeah.
Sooner than Carol.
It's crazy. Bizarre. Wow.
So, in his writings, all of these women had positions of authority. They were a teacher, school administrator, or head of the PTA, and he would still call them like Mrs. whoever, Mrs. Stauffer. It was very strange.
Yeah.
And this went well into his 20s. So it's very childlike. It's very like, which is even more echoed by his choice of words. Like, the wording he used is from a very clearly inexperienced guy. Like he would say things like, Ming touched the warmth of her reproductive organ.
Oh, wow.
Instead of vagina.
Okay.
It's like he feels weird talking about his teacher's vagina. So he like
got out the thesaurus. Yeah.
And landed on reproductive organ.
Wow.
That's better. That's so hot. Andy always talks in third person. Like he would say, Ming helps Mrs. Brady take off her skirt. Stop. It's so cringy.
Oh my God. This is made up.
I know. Oh, you'll see. It is not made up. The women always, and as again, writings, the women always wore a little makeup, usually a sweater and skirt, always in a white bra, white panty, white slip. And they were all married to husbands who couldn't satisfy them sexually. So they would come to Ming, the sex goddess, for him to sexually awaken them. And afterwards, they would always want Ming to have their babies.
Wait.
We must procreate with this beefy sex god, Ming.
They would want Ming to have their babies, is what you just said.
Oh, did I?
They would want, I see what you mean, though.
They would want
Ming
to
impregnate them.
Yeah, yes. They would want to have Ming's babies.
Well, he's on the right track with the reproductive organ bullshit.
Right.
And these fantasies. Like, oh, God.
It's very bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
And his mental illness escalated after graduating high school. That's when he dropped out of college, started Sound Equipment Services in 1971. And it was that part was true. Very successful.
Yeah.
He was very good with customers and went out of his way to make sure that they were satisfied with the results of whatever he was fixing. But his employees said that he was very closed off and it was awkward to talk to him about anything other than work. They didn't know if he was married. They didn't know if he had kids. He never talked about his personal life whatsoever because, frankly, he didn't have one.
Yeah.
As he got older, he became even more socially withdrawn, and his obsession with his 9th grade math teacher grew.
I mean, you're an adult at this point.
I know. It's hard to wrap your mind around. I know.
I'm trying to think of my high school math teacher's name.
Me too.
This is so bizarre. Okay.
I know.
Carry on. Or don't, whatever.
So, that's it.
I'm so worried about little Beth. I need you to get there. God, and tell me she's okay, even though now I know she's not because of your damn warning.
As his obsession grew, his hygiene declined.
Okay.
No more showers for Ming. Personal hygiene was not top priority for him. Following Mary was,
Oh
because
my
that is
God.
all he did. He would follow her every morning to the bus stop to watch her wave goodbye to her kids. Every time she went to the grocery store, he was only 1 or 2 carts behind her. Meanwhile, Mary had no idea he existed. She had no idea for the last 15 years he was her shadow. She had no idea that he drilled a man-sized hole in the ceiling of the storage unit below Mary and Irv's bed to spy on their conversations and break into their home when they weren't there.
What?
She had no idea that every Sunday he was sitting behind her in church, occasionally touching the back of her dress and smelling her hair.
Is anyone else around?
It's bizarre. This is just the tip of the iceberg of the batshit things he did, which are all outlined in the book I sourced at the beginning titled Stalking Mary.
Oh, wow.
Eventually, the stalking and fantasizing became not good enough. 15 years is long enough in his mind, and he wanted more. So it was during this church service in March of 1980 when Irv announced his family was going back to the Philippines that he took it as a sign to put his plan into action. A sign not by the universe, but from Mary herself.
Mm.
He truly believed it was her way of telling him, let's be together. At this point, Ming's mom, May, had gotten remarried and moved to one of my favorite cities in America and one of the prettiest, Alexandria, Virginia, with her husband. But since Ming had his business and Ron, his younger brother, was 19 at the time and in college, May kept their Minnesota house and offered to pay the mortgage if they took care of everything else, like maintenance, utilities, whatever. Again, since Ming didn't get along with his brothers, Ron turned the basement into an apartment and they didn't really interact except for the occasional passing in the shared kitchen.
Yeah. But there's 3 of them, right? There's another brother?
Yeah, but he's a little older than Ron. He's done with college. He's moved out. He's living on his own.
Oh, okay.
He eventually gets married and has his own. Charles was
the older one. Okay.
Is the middle brother. He's gone.
Okay.
So yeah, Ron lived in the basement apartment, and because of he didn't like his brother, they never interacted. And that's why Ron had no idea that Mary and her 8-year-old daughter would soon be chained inside a closet just steps away from him.
Oh my God. No.
Back to the day of the abduction. Again, Mary has no idea who this is. She didn't recognize him at all. So she's begging him, like, if you need help, we can help you. If you have a problem, we can fix it. Please do not hurt us. But Ming doesn't say one word. In fact, he's pissed because in his mind, they've been together for 15 years. So it's baffling why she's pretending not to know him. His mind is also racing because he really didn't want Beth and he didn't know what to do with her. He only wanted Mary, but it was the only opportunity that she was going to be without Irv before they left the country. And he was not waiting another 4 years to get her. So he sees Beth as collateral damage.
Right. Okay, sorry. Beth and Mary were leaving the hair cutting place?
Yeah.
Okay. Not the church? I'm so
No.
confused. Okay.
No, so that announcement
Okay.
that Irv made was March of 2000.
Not 2000. 1980.
Sorry, of 1980.
Yeah.
And so he had 2 months. He said, we're going to be moving in May 21st.
Oh, okay.
So he had 2 months to plan it.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mary's driving. He's in the passenger seat and Beth is in between them. It's a bench seat. That's, across the entire front. And he still has a gun to Beth's head and she is visibly trembling. So Mary, rubs her arm and tells her it's going to be okay. Ming tells her to shut up and directs her through a maze of backcountry roads. Once they're in an isolated area, he tells her to stop and turn off the car. He ties their arms together, ties their feet together, and puts them in the trunk. As he's driving, he can hear them praying out loud, which really pisses him off. So he pulls over to tape their mouths shut. And he ends up taping Like he tapes Mary's mouth shut, but ends up like wrapping the duct tape around Beth's head.
Oh no.
I know. It's so they're left like that for several hours. He's just driving in a hot trunk in May. And they're unable to make a sound or breathe, really.
Yeah.
But luckily, because of this, they were so hot and sweating, the tape didn't stick to Mary's mouth. And Beth was able to slide her wrists out of her restraints and peel off the tape from her mouth and head.
Oh, good.
All of a sudden, they hear what sounds like children playing. He ended up pulling over in Hazelnut Park in Arden Hills, where there's a playground. As Beth was untying Mary's hands, the trunk is ripped open and Ming is standing there and yells, "Look what you've done." And he places a spare tire on top of them so they couldn't move. Like, because that spare tire took up most of the room in the trunk. So they really couldn't move or attempt to get free.
Ugh, throw up.
I know. And it's in this moment, a little boy walks up and sees Mary and Beth in there. Before he can say anything beyond, "Hi," Ming throws him in the trunk and slams the door shut and peels out of there.
Shut the fuck up.
I cannot stand this. For a lot of reasons, obviously. But like, that little boy is such a classic kid. He was just nosy. He heard some commotion, went to go check it out. I mean, my 4-year-old always does this. We'll be at like a restaurant or a brewery or whatever and see a family playing, one of the table games, and he runs up and just sits there in silence to observe.
Yeah.
And it's like, Britton, you're being so creepy. And like, I imagine that is all this boy was doing. That is all 6-year-old Jason Wilman was doing.
I hate this.
What that piece of shit Ming didn't realize is that Jason's friend, Timmy Brains, saw the entire thing and watched in horror as his best friend was thrown into the trunk and taken. Timmy's house is only steps from the park, and it's where his mom and Jason's mom were. So he takes off screaming.
Go, Timmy.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. I'm sounding off.
I know. Sorry, I got emotional. He runs back to his house, busts through the door, hyperventilating. And he can't get out any words at first, but eventually gets out. A man took Jason. He threw him in his car. He stole Jason. And both women fly out that door, screaming Jason's name. And as they're running down, Scott! Sorry, I just can't imagine how frantic I'd be.
Oh, no.
Ugh. And as they're running down the street, neighbors heard the panic and immediately ran outside to join them and hauling ass to the playground, also yelling Jason's name. Explanation not necessary.
Yeah.
Parents know.
Mm-hmm.
The moment they stepped onto the playground, every parent was aware Jason had just been abducted. It was pure chaos. Parents were coming from every which way to grab their own kid, make sure they were safe. Timmy's mom ran back to her house to call the sheriff's office, and within 60 seconds, a call went out to all officers in the area with a description of the car. Deputies arrived in less than 5 minutes, surrounding the entire area and blocked the entry and exit to the playground. This happened so fast. Timmy went running to his house at 6:30 p.m., and cops were there by 6:41 p.m.
Timmy,
I'm so
good
sorry.
for you.
I know. How tragic.
Smart boy. To even capture the description.
Yeah.
To even know to do that. Even.
Right.
I mean,
at 6, I'm sure they've had at least a little bit of a conversation. If a man throws you in a car, that's kidnapping and you need to run for help.
I know, but I would just think I would be so scared at 6 that I wouldn't even know. Like, I don't know anything about the car. I just saw this monster grab my friend and throw him in a trunk. The car could have been bright purple. I have no idea.
Yeah, he doesn't know much about it other than it was a green car, but this other kid does. I'm like, fuck yeah, other kid.
All right. Okay. Wow.
So majority of the witnesses obviously were kids who heard the tire screech as Ming drove away. And they told cops, like, he even swiped a tree. It was this, they point out the tree.
Oh,
sure
wow.
enough, there is green paint on it. So forensic investigators scraped that bark as evidence. One witness was 11-year-old Kevin Larson, who was very clearly into cars because he told cops It was an older green Ford, possibly an LTD, with a darker green vinyl top and a sanded spot on the driver's side door.
Whoa, dog.
11-year-old Kevin fucking Larson reporting for duty.
All right. And he's right?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
He said he couldn't really see the driver, but he saw they had black hair and wore big sunglasses. Timmy, who got the best look of the Ming, obviously, confirmed the black hair, big sunglasses, said he was wearing a brown jacket, and he wasn't very tall, like compared it to an officer who was on site.
Mhm.
With the amount of time that passed, they estimated the car would still be within a 25-mile radius. So cops alerted 4 neighboring counties police departments to be on the lookout.
Yeah.
As soon as the trunk slams shut, Jason is in tears.
I do not want to know about this.
I know. And like, I feel, oh God. And think of Mary being like, now there are 2 children that I need to look after.
Oh my God.
While she's petrified herself and has no
Right.
idea what's going on.
Right.
But she reassures them that they're going to be okay and that God is with them. And to calm him down, she asks his name and he says Jason, and that he wants to go home because he's going to visit his grandmother that weekend.
Okay. I've had it with this one.
Oh no.
We don't need those details. It makes me so sad. They better survive.
I don't know.
The kids.
So Beth,
I mean, all of them. But
right.
This is like,
I know.
Oh God.
So Beth tells them she would be seeing her grandmother soon too, because like before they were going to leave for the Philippines, they were going to see Mary's mom.
Oh.
So this kind of relaxes him, but eventually he asks why this was happening, and Mary has no answer to comfort him. She says she doesn't know why it's happening, but again, they'll be fine and hang in there. And mind you, she still has no idea who this is. She's unaware this is a former student. It's just, oh God. Then the car starts getting very bumpy and dust is starting to fly into the trunk, making it even harder to breathe. Then it just stops for several minutes. It's silent. The trunk flung open and not saying a word, Ming grabs Jason and closes the trunk, leaving Beth and Mary. Mary would eventually ask Ming what he did, and he said, I took him in the woods, threatened his life, and let him go. But Ming was now panicked about the amount of people at the playground. He was scared that someone could easily point out his car. It's true.
Oh, so yes, Kevin was there. I don't know if you know this, Ming. Kevin was there.
Yep.
You're
11-year-old Kevin Larson screwed you.
Good. Go, Kevin.
So, well, it's annoying because now Ming wants to ditch Mary's car and he wants to head back to his van. And this is annoying because he parked not too far from the salon, which was only like a half mile from the playground, which was still crawling with police at this point. So I have no idea how this went unnoticed, but he successfully got his van and transported Mary and Beth to the back of it.
What?
And abandoned Mary's car. It's nearly 10 p.m. now, and Irv has been worried sick about Mary and Beth. He had called the cops a few times by this point and told dispatch that he already called the hair salon, and the stylist said Beth and Mary left around 4:30 that afternoon, but the entire department were all hands on deck to find Jason Wilman. And a little boy's abduction took priority over, a grown woman who's been gone for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Which they don't tell him, of course, but they just tell him like, wait a little bit longer if they come back, blah, blah. And so he's very frustrated, but he agrees. And exactly 45 minutes later, he calls back to report they're still not home. And then he informs cops that they've already been to his apartment twice in the last 10 days because they had 2 attempted break-ins. And he wondered out loud, maybe it's related, and insisted they send a cop to his apartment so he can file a missing persons report. And they finally did. 2 deputies get to their apartment, and Irv has recent pictures of both Mary and Beth in hand, ready to give cops. And as they're taking the report, they get the full description and ask for what kind of car they're driving. And Irv said a 1973 two-tone green Ford LTD, Minnesota license plate BRH 387. Then mentioned, and it has a vinyl roof and it's sanded primer spot on the driver's side door.
Wow.
I just haven't nailed it. And the cops immediately shoot each other a look and ask Irv if he by chance knows David and Susan Wilman or their son Jason. And he's like, no, I've never heard of those people. They again don't tell him anything. They just leave and tell him that we'll be back in the morning. So Irv was left kind of baffled as to why they asked him that, but he's emotionally drained from the day and he decides to try to relax and he turns on the TV. And the first thing he sees is a picture of Jason Wilman's cute smiling face with abducted and big red letters written under it.
Oh my God.
They didn't give the car description in this breaking news report, but they didn't have to. Irv said it was in this very moment he knew this was going to be the beginning of a nightmare.
Oh my God.
The two deputies get back to the station around 11:45 p.m. to tell Ramsey County Sheriff Chuck Zacharias that Mary and Beth Stauffer are missing and it's connected to Jason's abduction. And he immediately ordered all deputies report for duty at 8 a.m. the next morning and to cancel any vacation plans they may have had that weekend. Then he calls the FBI to tell them 3 people are missing and 2 are children. So get on over here.
Come on. Wow.
I know.
Good.
Yeah. While police are neck deep in this investigation, Mary and Beth had been chained inside Ming's closet for hours with only a blanket and bucket inside and heavy ass furniture leaning up against the door. After the kidnapping, he immediately went to sleep, and the next morning he brought them buttered toast and fruit juice. He stocked the kitchen with food that he knows they like because, again, every time Mary's at the grocery store, Ming was right behind her. Right. So literally, he knows what kind of fruit juice to get. He knows what kind of cereal Beth eats. Like, so scary.
Yeah.
Mary once again begs Ming to at least let Beth go, and he stays silent. She again asks who he is and what he wants, but no response. That night, he blindfolds Mary, unchains her, and leads her into the living room, leaving Beth inside the dark closet crying for her mom.
Oh my God.
He shoves Mary to the floor and ties her wrists to the leg of the couch and then started setting up video equipment. How creepy this would be.
I hate him so much.
Once he hits record, he rapes her. And once he's finished, he finally starts talking. And he does not stop talking for 3 hours. At one point, he calls her Miss Stauffer.
Oh, God.
Mary is like, wait, did he just say that? But she assumes at first she heard that wrong. And then he calls her Mary. And she's like, have we met before? How do you know me? What's going on? And he explains how many times he's tried to get her to notice him. And she's like, what are you talking about? When? Who are you? And he starts getting offended, but won't say, I'm your former student. Instead, he gives her little clues to jog her memory, which would be so infuriating. There's a transcript of it because it is all on tape. There's a transcript of it. And he's like, okay, what years were you here in Minnesota? And she's like thinking out loud. And she says, okay, so we lived in Nebraska in 1960. He's like, no, here. And she's like, and then he goes, let's put it this way. I graduated in 1969. And she goes, from where'd you graduate? And he says, we'll get there.
Oh my God.
I know. It's so annoying. He pushes a little bit.
You're very forgettable.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's not jogging memory. You were in my class and you were number 1 in your class and I have no idea who you are.
Right.
You're sorry. Carry on.
There is nothing remarkable about you. Right. So I don't remember you.
No games.
But finally, she gets to like, well, I taught math for 2 years. And he tells her now she's getting warmer. And she finally says, like, were you a student of mine? And he says, yes. And asks if she remembers him. Clearly not. So no, I don't.
Fucker.
And she essentially is like, well, I mean, I taught for 2 years, 15 years ago. So no. And she actually tells him the only student she remembers is a guy named Bob Stein because he was such a troublemaker, and a guy named Jeff who was always falling asleep in class because she had to always have meetings with his parents. So those 2 he remembers, and that Ming gets pissed. Yeah,
that she remembers 2
people who brought him trouble. No, you remember the troublemakers and not the good students. And he's like getting really pissed off about that. And she's like, oh, I assure you, I will remember you from this point forward. Believe that.
Right. Ew.
So he's yelling at her and says that she has no idea what keeping something, quote, like this inside for does to a person. It destroys a person, he says. It's worse than cancer. And she, again, is like, what are you keeping inside? It's a very annoying conversation. Yeah. He's dancing around a subject which is already an annoying thing to do if you know what the subject is. But
Right.
she has no idea what the hell he's talking about. So it's even
Right.
more obnoxious. Here's a direct quote from the conversation. So he says, "It's worse than cancer. I've had this eating away at me, okay? Let's put it this way. This did not just come on suddenly, okay? I did not just discover this cross point, this turning point. When it happened, you see, the thing is, when things happen, you don't realize what's happening to you until years later on what could have been different." And Mary's response, literally from the transcript, is, "So were you in my algebra class?"
Good.
Or
She's
my
like,
general math class, which is not funny at all, but I do love that she's like, okay,
you're still not ringing a bell.
no. So you're in my algebra or my general math class? Like,
Yeah.
are we going to circle the airport? Or are we going to bring this baby in?
Let's bring it in. My God. How infuriating.
Right. So again, he goes on a tangent about how she remembers, quote, losers in the class, but ignored the ones with high potential. And she apologizes for ignoring them. And he eventually tells her she gave him a bad grade once and it cost him a scholarship because of, which is a complete lie, by the way. And she's like, "Okay, what grade did I give you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll go get the report card and show you." And she's like, which obviously he has after almost 2 decades.
Right.
And she's like, "Well, I'm blindfolded, so I can't see it." So he removes the blindfold and she decides
she's been blindfolded this whole time?
Wow. Yeah. So he removes the blindfold and she decides to just pretend to remember him. And she says her memory's starting to come back. And she's like, "Oh, okay, I think I might remember you." And he's like, "Okay, which hour did you teach me?" And she's like, "For God's sakes, it's 15 years ago. I don't remember." And he starts doing the whole jogging.
Oh my God. I
clue
hate
giving.
this.
Yeah. Starts doing the whole clue giving thing to jog her memory. Ugh. By the way, the grade he was talking about was a B, and said that he ended up fighting in Vietnam and becoming a prisoner of war. And she's like, "Because I gave you a B?
Study harder, dipshit."
Yeah, don't be a dumbass next time.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a like mind fuckery this is for her. She's been held captive. She's been kidnapped without food, without water. She probably thinks she's going crazy.
Yeah.
And she's like, now you're talking about a grade that cost you a scholarship and you became a prisoner of war. She has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah. It kind of goes without saying, but that's bullshit, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
he didn't
all
even
made
go
up.
to Vietnam.
No, he did not fight
Okay.
in Vietnam. No.
Okay.
He starts talking about these very specific events. He asks her if she remembers passing him in the hallway at the University of Minnesota in 1970, and he said hello to her, and she gave him a friendly smile, but passed him. That pissed him off because how dare she not stop and talk to him? And then he asked why she did that, and she's like, "That 10 years ago, I don't remember." She's like, "Honestly, I don't remember ever being at the University of Minnesota hallway." And was like, "Are you sure it was me?" And he's like, yes, it was, because it's burned in my memory and it's been hell for me ever since. So again, she apologizes, but it's a very bizarre conversation. It's very creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he tells her that his entire life has been hell after this, after all these years, because her ignoring him. And these little moments have been burnt into his mind and has caused him mental anguish. And again, she's apologizing and he'll randomly be like, "Well, I'm not blaming you. You're a very good teacher. You're very fair." And she flat out asks, "Then why am I here?" But he doesn't respond. And by this point, after 3 hours, Beth is banging on the closet door, crying that she needs to go to the bathroom.
Oh.
And Mary begs him to untie her arms from the couch because A, it's hurting like hell, and B, she needs to take her daughter to pee.
Mm-hmm.
And Ming profusely apologizes for putting Mary in pain. He had no idea, he said. Ugh. So he does it, and immediately after they go pee, he chains them together and leaves them in the locked closet, which is tiny. There is a picture of it. It would be miserable.
Mm-hmm. Ron is here the whole time.
Ron is in the basement.
It's baffling. I can't imagine being in Mary's situation with this fucking idiot blabbering for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, all I can think about is my baby in that damn closet.
Right.
That's all I'm thinking about. I don't know who the fuck you are.
Nor do I care.
Shit.
Right. It's awful.
Like 3 hours.
I know. Yeah. I mean, think of what you were doing 3 hours ago. That is so long to hear your child crying
begging
for you.
For you.
Ugh. after being raped. Oh God. It's awful. So luckily, in either the bathroom or closet that night, Mary found a dry cleaning receipt with Ming's address on it. And she memorized it, and then she made Beth memorize it.
Oh, wow.
But he told them on their second day of captivity that he was going to let them go before they left for the Philippines, which again was going to be on May 21st, which only a few days away by this point. But that day came and went and nothing. And when asked about it, he laughed and said they were not going to be let go. They're a new family.
Can't.
And told Mary that eventually she would fall in love with him. Oh, God. After about a week, for Beth's sanity, Mary tried to force a little routine. Ming would like bring them garbage to eat, and she put her foot down and was like, and told him that Beth was a growing child who needs nutrients. You need to get vegetables and meats, which he did. And then he allowed them to get out of the closet, still chained together, and eat at the dinner table, all while he's holding a gun to make sure they didn't get too comfortable.
Okay, but it's getting a little bit more freedom, I hope.
A little bit. And he told Mary if she ever tried to escape, even if he got caught and went to jail for years, he would eventually get out and find her. And even if she were dead by that point, he would go after her kids. So think of poor 8-year-old Beth hearing this. She's like, what? What do you mean? Oh, God, she probably doesn't get it.
Right.
So meanwhile, at school, students had been writing all over Beth's desk. They write like, we miss you. Glad you're with your mom. I can't. Please come home. Have a good summer. Hope to see you soon. It's so sad. The school administrator wanted the teacher to remove her desk and teach the class like everything was fine, but she refused to. She wanted to talk to her students about Beth's abduction since it was all everyone was talking about in town. And one student said each day someone in class would put her homework assignments inside of Beth's desk so she'll have all the papers, quote, when the kidnapper gives her back.
Oh.
These are third graders.
Oh my God. Fucking hate this story.
I know. So it was all over the news, but Ming didn't like the way it was being portrayed. To him, it was not an abduction. They were in love. They were a family. So he had Mary write a letter to Irv to call the search off. She left him on her own free will, which Irv immediately handed to the FBI, and they immediately knew this is a hostage situation.
Right.
So FBI taps Irv's phone in hopes that a ransom call will come in, but it never did. However, one call was made, and it was on June 16th, 1980. I just want to play it.
Oh my God. This call came into Irv?
Yes.
Okay. June 16th. So they've been gone a month about.
Yeah. A month exactly.
Oh my gosh. Listen to me.
Hello, Irv speaking.
Hello, Dad?
No.
Yes, Bethy. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Is Mommy okay?
Yes.
That's good. Oh, I'm.
Daddy,
Yes.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you so
No.
much, sweetie.
You're fine, Dad.
Oh, I'm so glad.
We can't talk anymore.
When can you come home?
I don't know.
Can I talk?
Can you okay, Dad?
Can I talk to him?
No.
Okay, you call again.
See you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
I cannot believe that.
I know.
Oh my God. She's so brave. Oh my God. I can't. I hate that.
I know. Oh, God. She called to say Happy Father's Day, if y'all didn't catch that. Then he's breathing so hard. Like at first I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he didn't freak out more. But you get the more I heard it, I was like, he's like breathing so hard. He said he was trying so hard not to cry. And they couldn't trace the call.
I was about to say, I'm guessing he wasn't on the phone long enough to trace the call because back then you had to be on the phone for like 3.5 hours for them to do anything.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I know.
Was that why it's too short of a call?
Yeah.
Damn it.
4 days later, June 20th was Mary's birthday. Unbeknownst to her, she has no idea what day it is at this point.
Yeah.
But because Ming knows everything about her, he brought Mary a birthday cake and sang to her.
Gross.
While just 3 miles away, Irv and their son Steve ate a very somber dinner alone in silence as their hope dwindled.
How old Steve?
He's 4. He's 4.
Oh.
Every night, Ming took Mary out of the closet to rape her. And when she would return crying, she told Beth she was just crying because she missed Dad and Steve. So they would hug until they both fell asleep. That was their routine.
Oh my
But being in a dark closet for hours and hours a day started taking a toll on Beth, and she started pulling out her hair, which I know we've talked about in another episode, but it's a very common stress response. So Mary begged Ming, just let Beth go. I'll stay. And he played with the idea for a little bit. He asked Beth, like, if I let you go, do you promise not to tell the police my name? Because if you make a promise and you actually go to police, that's a lie. And lying is a sin. And then, like, in the closet late at night, she asked Mary if it was true, if lying would be a sin. And Mary says, no, you
Fuck
tell
no.
Daddy and police the address I made you memorize
Mhm.
and tell them he's a former student of mine. But she would never get that opportunity because Ming lost his temper once and said letting Beth go was off the table. It was not going to happen.
Oh
Like, oh my God, it infuriates me so much. You think that Mary ignoring you 15 years ago was burned in your mind and takes a toll on a human? Think about what you're doing to this poor 8-year-old girl,
my God. Right.
saying that, okay, I'm probably going to let her go, only to lock her in a closet for hours, a dark closet, hours and hours a day.
Right.
Screw you. Ugh.
I hope this has a satisfying ending where he is tortured to death.
Meanwhile, please keep in mind that Ron lives downstairs. He would later say that he noticed like the kitchen was a lot cleaner than usual, and he once heard a woman's voice but assumed Ming had a girlfriend. He had
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay.
So the basement where Ron's living is not equipped for like with a kitchen and like
No,
they
shared
have
kitchen.
shared spaces upstairs and they are locked in a closet.
Yes.
And but like even the first night, that 3-hour bullshit with Beth banging on he didn't hear anything like that.
No. He may have not, but I'm assuming he was not home that night because he wouldn't have taken Mary to the living room. That's too risky. I would think.
But if they didn't get there till what, 10 p.m. Like maybe that could have been at 2 a.m. Who knows?
That's true. Yeah.
But still, that is crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So yeah, he heard a woman's voice once, but he thought Ming had a girlfriend, and he said he had no idea it was the woman and child whose picture was being blasted on the news every night. Imagine that.
Unbelievable.
Like, the news is reporting like day 35 still missing and feeling bad for these poor victims when they are right above you, chained inside your loser brother's closet.
It's unreal.
Ming, again, recorded every interaction, every rape against Mary, and it's further evidence of his demented mind and how he wants their, quote, relationship to play out, but it really doesn't work out for him. He can't perform, and Mary does not hide her pain at all. He asks if she likes having sex with her husband, and she says, yeah, because we're in love and it's not rape. And obviously Ming hates this answer because she's not playing into his fantasies. Like, he's been writing about for the last several years that she's unsatisfied by her husband, comes to Ming for the sexually awakening, whatever.
Yeah.
But it couldn't be further from that scenario. He blames her for it because she's not showing him any affection. And she says, and I won't. And he actually starts demanding that she like move a little. Well,
oh no,
it's just awful. And she's like, no, I'm tied up and you're forcing me to do this. That's rape. And I'm not entertaining your sick, twisted fantasy.
Wow.
So he grabbed a plastic bag and asked if she's ever seen someone suffocate to death.
Stop.
And then he pulls Beth out of the closet.
No.
He brings her in, puts the bag over her head and said, it only takes 5 minutes before the bag will stop contracting and the air is gone. And unless Mary starts cooperating, she's going to see her daughter die.
Oh my God.
That's what he tells her. And for several minutes, Mary pushes back, which is the part of the book I was literally on the edge of my seat, being like, oh my God, just do whatever he wants. She at one point tries to run and grab the bag off Beth's head, but Ming pushes her away. and pulls it even tighter.
Oh my God.
Mary can see the bag getting smaller and smaller, and Beth yells to do whatever he wants. And
Oh.
once she sees beads of sweat running down Beth's face out of the bag, she finally goes over to Ming, kisses him on the cheek, but he tells her that's not good enough. So she kisses him on the lips, and he rips off the bag from Beth's head, and she is drenched in sweat.
Oh my God. Torture.
Torture. So much so that Ming lets her take a bath. I believe the one and only.
Oh my God.
And that night, Ming got the exact video he wanted out of Mary. So disgusting. But it didn't come without a little sass. At one point, he says during the recording, he asked, like, is this how your husband does it? And she says, no, my husband doesn't rape me. So she's going back. She's very no
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah.
I think around day 20, he was playing with the idea of giving them a little bit more freedom and asked, like, what would you do if you were able to look out the window and you saw someone walk by? Like, what would you do in that scenario? And she said, oh, I would bang on the window and yell for help.
Oh my God.
So we're over a month in. Ming pulled them out of the closet to discuss a road trip. He had a trade conference in Chicago and needed to take them with him, but acknowledged the risk of crossing state lines. And if caught, the FBI could get involved, obviously,
Already
not
are.
knowing that, yeah, they've been involved since hour 5 of this abduction.
Mhm.
But he said, you know, good news. I've studied all other kidnappers and won't make the same mistakes they did. So he's rented an RV. But first, he wants to, again, test Mary and says, if the opportunity presented itself and there's someone near the RV, what would you do? And Mary says, quote,
Oh,
well, I would tell them you're holding us against our will.
Mary.
Mary, she cannot tell a lie. She will not tell a lie.
Okay. I mean, listen, I don't know. I don't even know how to address that, actually.
Well, he does. He says, no, you won't, because I'll blow your head off and I'll blow your daughter's head off. So it's settled. They're going on a road trip, and Beth is actually very excited. She hasn't been outside in a month. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
In the RV, he put a bicycle cable in a plastic tube, which he fitted around Mary's waist, and then the other end of it fit around Beth's waist. And it was chained to the middle of the RV with very little slack. So they couldn't go to the front or back where the
Yeah.
big windows are. At one point in Madison, Wisconsin, he allowed Mary to go inside the gas station with him, and she tried to make eyes at the clerk, but had no idea if the news about their abduction made it to Wisconsin. And she was too scared to actually say anything or try to whisper something to the clerk because Beth was still chained in the RV. And she was
Oh,
scared if she
yeah.
got busted, he would just run outside and leave with Beth.
Oh God. Yeah.
When they got to Chicago, Ming allowed Mary to use a payphone. She wanted to find out if Irv and Steve actually moved to the Philippines without them. So Ming said she could make one call to the Baptist General Conference. She couldn't call Irv, but she could make a call to the Baptist General Conference. But he stood next to her the entire time with a gun, and she wasn't allowed to say who she was. A man named Paul Pearson answered, who she knew, and she asked about Irv's whereabouts. And when Paul asked who she was, she said a friend of the family's. And in this moment, someone laid on their horn because the RV was blocking the parking lot, and it distracted Ming for a split second.
Oh my God.
So he turned around and she whispered, Paul, it's Mary. But Paul didn't hear her.
Stop.
He just gave her a phone number where she could reach Irv. And by that time, Ming's full attention was already on her, so she couldn't repeat it. How devastating is that?
That's- But I mean, what could he have done? His phone's probably not, that phone's probably not tapped.
Yeah.
She's
absolutely.
in Chicago on a payphone. Like, honestly, just
I know.
confirm that they're still alive, I guess.
Yeah.
Keep
Give
looking.
some peace of mind to
Jesus.
Ugh.
Aw.
And maybe FBI could, because I think that lasted longer than whatever the 15 seconds. I bet they could at least type to a payphone in Wisconsin or in
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Wait, and
No,
it's
Chicago, you said.
Yeah. Sorry. So it was a quick trip to Chicago. They drove right back to Minnesota in the middle of the night. And then next to the house, they see a cop car with the big telephone number on the side of it, which she memorized. And later that night, again, she made Beth memorize it too.
Mhm.
They didn't have 911 in Roseville at this time yet.
Mhm.
On July 6th, Ming's brother, Ron, moved to Taiwan for a year-long computer study program, so they officially had the house to themselves.
Damn it.
And Ming moved them into a larger closet, which he locked, but he didn't barricade it with the heavy furniture like he did in the other one.
Oh.
But they're still tied together with the bike cables. So now we're entering day 52. And Mary hears Ming on the phone making arrangement to rent that RV for a year. And she is like, holy shit, this is never going to end.
Yeah.
And it was the first time she broke down in front of Beth and told her, he's going to keep us here forever. Like, she's hit a wall. She can't be strong anymore. She's panicked.
God.
So he leaves for work, and Mary starts playing with the closet door hinges and notices, hey, I got one off.
Ooh.
Then she got another one off.
Okay.
Then another one off.
Hell yes.
And all
Finally.
and all of a sudden the door is off its hinges completely. Beth,
So is the door's owner, but go on.
that's right. That's exactly right.
Wow. Hell yes. Here we go. Finally.
But Beth sees what she's doing and begs her to stop because Ming could be home any minute.
Oh God. Here
And
we
Mary
go.
says, hell no. And still being chained together, she lifts Beth up and drags her outside the closet. But now Beth is sobbing in fear that they're going to get in trouble and begs Mary to please get back in the closet so they don't get hurt. And Mary reels back her hand and slaps her square in the face to
No.
snap out of it.
No, she's already been through enough.
I know. She explains this is literally their only chance to get to that phone, and they need to go now.
Mm-hmm.
She then hugged her daughter the tightest she ever has and apologized for hitting her and told her this was God's way of getting them back to Dad and Steve, where Ming can't hurt them anymore. So she says okay, but she's physically frozen in fear. So Mary is literally carrying her to the phone.
Mm-hmm.
She dials the number she memorized from the cop car they passed a few days prior.
Oh my God.
And the moment they answer, she says very matter-of-factly, this is Mary Stauffer. I think you're looking for me and my daughter, Beth. We're at 19 Hamlin Avenue in Roseville. Please hurry. She told them that they were abducted by Ming's son, Shiue, who has more guns than she can count. And he was not at the house, but he was returning any minute. And if they see a black van in the driveway, that's him and he's home. The dispatcher tells her the cops are on the way. Yes, she knows who they are. Cops are on the way. Stay in the house. Do not be near a window. We might shoot this motherfucker.
Hell yeah. He's at work at this point. Where is he?
Yeah, he's at work.
Okay. Oh my God.
But it's closing time. He's about to come home.
Yeah.
The moment they get off the phone, Beth actually has the idea to run outside and hide in the bushes in the backyard because they had put the closet door back on the hinges, like very loosely, didn't screw anything in, but he wouldn't immediately know they weren't in there.
Yeah.
And it will buy themselves more time if he does beat the cops there.
Right.
So
That's
they
smart.
do.
Good, Beth.
I know. Go, Beth.
Okay.
So they do just that. They run outside and they notice an old car covered with a blue tarp, and they hide behind it. Still chained together. They're crouched down out of sight.
Do we know why they didn't just take off instead of
Well,
hide?
still being chained.
Well, no. Actually, sorry. As I said, I'm like, knowing the cops are on their way.
Exactly.
I probably would feel safer doing that.
Right. Me too.
I don't
And
know.
they're chained together, knowing that Ming could be driving down the street.
Yeah.
What if he saw him? And they have like this big ass task force. And she said, cops and FBI are on the way.
Hell
I'd be like,
yes.
I feel more safe now than I have in the last 7 weeks.
Right.
So, but what they didn't know was cops were already on scene by the time they got behind that car.
Hell
The cops were
yeah.
on the scene, but they had to secure the entire area before making an entry. They ordered all the neighbors to stay inside and away from their windows. And as they were surrounding the house, they see Beth and Mary, and they are saved after 7.5 weeks of torture.
Thank God.
I know. They are immediately put into a squad car to be taken to the hospital while the other officers wait for Ming to come home. But before the squad car pulls off, Deputy Ballard runs up to Mary to ask if Jason Wilman was in the house.
No.
Sorry.
No. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's so sad. Sorry. God, do y'all get uncomfortable when we cry? Really? Because, hold on.
Damn it.
Oh. It takes Mary a moment of confusion before she realizes who Jason is and very sadly tells them they haven't seen Jason since the first day they were taken. And Ming said he let him go. And Beth chimes in with, well, maybe he went home, right, Mom? And the
Oh, God.
entire car just falls silent. And Mary and the cop look at each other with tears in their eyes.
Oh my God.
So fucked up. Obviously, they did not tell Beth.
Do they
So-
find him ever?
Yeah.
Oh God. Fuck.
So he quickly changes the subject, the cop does, and asks if Ming at any point drove out of state, to which they said, sure did. And the case
yeah.
immediately becomes federal, and now it's in the hands of the FBI. Oh, God. Less than an hour of Mary and Beth's escape, deputies, FBI agents, and a chaplain drove to Sandra and David Wilman's house. Before they could even get out of their cars, David and Sandra ran out of the house to meet them, as did every neighbor on the block.
Damn it.
Because there were so many cop cars. Knowing it couldn't be good news, one of the neighbors just walked up and took 3-year-old Janelle, Jason's little sister, out of Sandra's hands as the cops explained what was happening. They didn't know where Jason was, but they said they had a suspect in custody, which David said, may I have a confrontation with that suspect?
Oh yes.
I don't know.
And they
And
said,
they told him,
"Yep."
yeah. They told
Oh,
him,
no.
it's not possible. I'm like, sure it is.
Sure, anything's
You
possible.
just give me the key to his cell.
Anything's
and
possible.
Anything's possible if you drop the right key in front of my shoe.
Right.
Cops were sick. By this point, Ming had not been arrested. He still hasn't come home. And they're sick of waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to go straight to his place of work, which was just inside Minneapolis city limits. So to avoid jurisdictional issues, they contacted Minneapolis PD to bust in with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, cops did everything right
Yeah.
in this entire story.
Yeah.
They sprung into action and left zero room for error.
Uh-huh.
So they walk into Equipment Sound Services and told all the customers to get out. They asked an employee where Ming was, and he pointed to the basement. And Ming was startled by the heavily armed cops and FBI agents cuffing him. And based on his mugshot, which appears to have a big bruise on his chin, I'd like to think they beat the shit out of him, but that's not confirmed.
They did.
I hope they did.
Mm-hmm.
On the way to the federal courthouse in St. Paul, special agents repeatedly asked him about Jason, but he denied knowing who that was and stopped talking. He stops talking completely.
Mm-hmm.
That is until he got to the courthouse, and in a terribly planned and very unfortunate incident, passed Mary and Beth as he was being dragged inside, and they were being escorted outside.
They pass each
They
other.
pass each other.
Ooh.
And he yells, "Why did you run?"
Wow.
How terrifying.
Oh my God.
How
he's
quickly
such a piece
do you
of
think
shit.
a billy club came out of the cop sounds like, do not address her.
Yeah.
Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
With Mary and Beth safely home, the focus was on Jason. Big Ming would not talk. Even his attorneys pleaded with him to give up information, but he refused. 3 days after his arrest, he told fellow inmate Richard Green he would pay him $50,000 to help him escape. Green was scheduled to be released, and he agreed to help Ming, but said he didn't have a car. So Ming wrote him a check for $1,000 to buy a used car, which is exactly what Richard Green did the day of his release. And then he immediately called FBI to tell him about Ming's escape plan.
Oh my God. Duh.
He said, I was in jail for a misdemeanor. I want no part of a kidnapper and likely murderer. So no,
But thank you for the car.
but thank you for the car. And he got to keep it.
Oh, good.
So Ming's attorney entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. Now let's get to this batshit trial.
Oh God.
The judge ruled in a pretrial hearing that the federal kidnapping case for Mary and Beth would be completely separate from the pending charges in Jason's case.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this time, Jason still hasn't been found. Once he was, they were going to charge him with and try him with kidnapping and or murder, depending. Because at this point, they still, they have a good idea, but they still don't know. So no mention of Jason was allowed in this first trial. Defense says Ming's delusion escalated when his mom got remarried and moved to Virginia. He felt abandoned by the woman he loved most. I know he
Get
has.
the fuck
I
over
know.
it.
That's what I'm like. I know he has serious issues, but it's so hard for me to wrap my head around a 22-year-old with $1 million company feeling abandoned by his mom. Like,
Fuck off.
ugh. But that is when defense said he had a psychotic break and his mental illness really escalated. Ultimately, it's declared that he had erotomania, which is delusional belief that an individual is in love with a specific person despite clear evidence against it. Most famous case being David Letterman's stalker. You're like, remember her?
Yeah.
And she knew, like, any time he was talking, like on TV,
Yes.
she was convinced it was to her,
Uh-huh.
and that like he was flirting with her.
Mhm.
It's just
Wow.
yikes.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that term was used much in the 1980s, or it was widely recognized term back then, whatever.
Yeah.
So the defense and opening statements argue that his mental illness started long before the kidnapping, and his attorney says that Ming in that moment still thinks that Mary was in love with them and was confused why she ran away. Also creepy.
Yeah.
So they say he can't be held responsible for something he didn't understand and still doesn't understand what he did wrong, which doesn't make sense to me. He constantly threatened them. He had a gun the entire time.
They were chained
They were
up.
chained.
If
Right.
he, in his mind, they were just a big happy family, why were
Right.
they chained up?
I know. It doesn't make sense.
I'm done with that.
And he told the doctors that was the best summer of his life, best 7 weeks of his life.
Okay.
And his own employees said, yeah, he was quite chipper coming into work every morning. Best mood ever.
Wow.
So scary. And his evaluations, it didn't take psychiatrists long to figure out a few patterns between Mary and his own mother, May, starting very simply, the initials. Mary Stauffer, May Shiue.
Oh, yeah.
May was a mathematician.
Yeah.
Mary was a math teacher.
Thought about that connection.
Yeah. They were both very conservative women, not a lot of makeup, not a lot of jewelry, loyal to their husbands. In fact, when May found out about the murder and kidnapping, she asked Ming why he did this. And he said, quote, Mommy, which is not cute at 30 years old.
No.
Mommy, she reminded me of you because of her spirit. She's bright and a warm and good person.
Oof.
So psychologists determined he shifted his yearning for his mother to Mary. And when I say yearning,
Gross.
I do mean sexual yearning.
Yes. That's disgusting.
They think he had feelings for his mother but felt rejected by her, so he targeted a more socially acceptable victim, Mary. In fact, it was only a month after his mom's wedding in 1972 that Ming was planning to take Mary by gunpoint then. This is 8 years before the actual kidnapping. He broke into what he thought was Mary's home and demanded to know where she was, but it was actually the home of Mary's in-laws. It was
What?
Irv's parents.
What?
No idea how he got their address or what they did about it. I mean, I'm sure they called the police and obviously told Mary, but I guess because Mary at that time had no idea who Ming was or no idea he existed,
Yeah.
they thought maybe it was like a whim or like maybe this random person was looking for another Mary. I couldn't find more on that
What
situation.
The
But
fuck?
how weird is that?
That's insane.
Yeah. So even knowing this sexual feelings towards his mom, May hired one of the most successful defense attorneys in Minnesota. His name's Ronald Meshbesher, something like that, and stood by Ming the entire time. She even moved back to Minnesota so she could visit him daily.
What?
His brothers, on the other hand, told him he could fuck right off and they want nothing to do with him.
Go Ron and Charles.
So there was a big dilemma in court as to whether or not the tapes Ming recorded would be shown. It's hours and hours of footage, and the defense submitted a motion not to show them because it would sway the jury away from the insanity defense.
What?
Too bad.
It's evidence. What are you talking about? Unfortunately, yeah, every second of those need to be shown in court.
Right.
What?
Like, that's your client's fault. He did it. What? Prosecution filed a motion to show them because there are moments that Ming shows that he's very much in touch with reality. Each side of the, defense and prosecution have doctors who really butt heads over Ming's mental state. Everyone has different opinions. It's whatever. And according to the psychiatrist testifying for prosecution, one part of the video in particular shows is when Ming gets up to readjust the camera so he can better show like where he is and what he's doing. And he wipes sweat from his forehead. And they say that demonstrates a non-psychotic mind, which I just thought was so interesting. I mean,
Okay.
I guess him sweating indicates he's nervous, therefore aware of what he's doing.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting.
I know. I love shit like that. So.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of this, like him not being able to perform sexually unless Mary's affectionate towards him. Like when she did nothing, called him a rapist, screamed in pain, he couldn't perform. Seems like he knew it's because he was forcing her to do it and not, a part of his fantasy. So
right.
Defense also said that he heard voices, but the doctors who interviewed Ming asked what they sounded like and where they stemmed from. And he said they were in his own voice and they stem from his imagination.
Okay. So
those are thoughts.
Those are
that's you just thinking, my friend.
Yeah.
It's like when I hear you murdered a little boy and a voice comes into my head saying, I hope you die. That's just me talking to myself about how I feel.
That's not a third party talking to me in my head.
No.
Those are your thoughts. Jason, yeah. God, fucking idiot. Good. Okay. So they're in your head and they're in your voice. Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna write that down real quick.
Yeah. They also tried the hallucinations because when he masturbated, he would hallucinate people. That's just him using his imagination. That's a normal, healthy thing to do, actually. So no, that's not a hallucination. So Judge ruled, yes, the videos will be shown. And they watched about 8 hours of footage.
Sick.
Repulsive. After they shut them off, the courtroom was so quiet that the plastic bag used to put over Beth's head was hanging in the room as evidence, and it fell from its hanger, and it scared everyone. An audible gasp throughout the courtroom. That's how on edge everyone was.
Wow.
Oof. So the jury finds him guilty, and he is sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. That was November 3rd, 1980, and by December 11th, 1980, the other prisoners were fed up with Ming's constant death threats that they demanded he be moved to another cell block or they're going to kill him.
Well, beat the shit out of him first. Like
kill him.
Almost to death.
He did.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, he got his shit rocked.
Oh, good.
So they move him away from everyone else. Now they start building the case for Jason's trial. And prosecution was pushing for first-degree murder, even though Jason still had not been found. And that's when Ming agreed to show FBI where he left Jason, still claiming he left him unharmed, in exchange for a second-degree murder charge instead of first, which I'm like, if you're claiming you didn't harm him, why aren't you pushing for murder to be off the table? But whatever. So he shows them the wooded area, but he says he can't remember exactly where Jason was, and it's huge. There's hundreds of acres. So they put a task force together in charge of finding Jason and search for the area for 3 days. And all 3 days were in complete silence. They were all themselves parents. So it was just a very sad, they had dread. They're very emotional. And it's, finally on day 3, they all heard the sound of one of the officers frantically blowing his whistle.
Oh, no.
Which that meant they found that poor little boy. Not at all buried, completely discarded. Because of how decomposed he was, they couldn't do a formal autopsy, but they noticed some skull damage. Again, Ming pleads not guilty by reason of insanity. And this trial starts January of 1981. The jury selection was a bitch because they had to find 12 people who were unaware of his federal kidnapping conviction, which was only 3 months prior. So that took a minute, but once selected, the jury was sequestered.
Yeah.
Several children testified since they were the only witnesses, including Timmy, who had to reenact what he saw as the abductor.
What?
The attorney as Jason. I mean, my God, we really did not understand the effects of trauma in the 80s. He's 6 years old.
Yeah. And I didn't address it in last week's episode with Gerard Schaefer, but Nancy and Sue, who survived, escaped. In court, they made them reenact, or during the investigation, they made them go back to the spot and reenact how they were being held with the noose and everything, the gag on their face. It's on Instagram. And I was like, I don't know why I didn't even address that. Wow. We really did not worry about PTSD or trauma or they're like, okay, get back in the noose. Show me exactly what he did. I mean,
right.
Wow. Okay. And now this poor little Timmy, they're like,
6
okay,
years
so
old.
what did he do? Reenactment. Don't tell me about it. Do it.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, God. Awful.
Poor baby.
Then Mary testified. And to be clear, the jury did know that Ming abducted 2 other people. They just didn't know that he was convicted and sentenced. They didn't know about the conviction.
So, and they know that Mary is the victim,
yes,
one of the victims. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. She has to talk about what Jason talked about in the trunk.
Yeah.
So Mary walks through everything that happened, how he said his name was Jason and he was going to visit his grandmother. Now he was crying and she calmed him down, which Sandra Wilman said was really comforting to her, that at least another mother, oh God. Can't even finish the sentence, but yeah, was with him in his last moments. So,
oh my God.
She said Ming grabbed Jason out of the trunk and slammed it shut so they didn't see or hear anything. And about 15 minutes later, he just started the car and drove off without Jason. The cross-examination for Mary.
Mm-mm.
Ming's attorney asked if Mary ever insinuated she was in love with Ming, which I don't get why this wasn't objected. This is Jason's trial. What are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Why are we...
We already went through my stuff.
Yeah. But regardless, she says, no. And he further asked, well, didn't you say that as Christians, we love you or something? And she said, no, I think at one point I said, the Bible says to love your enemies. And I told him he was my enemy. But I don't recall saying, and before she could finish her sentence, a blood-curdling scream erupted from Ming's mouth. He leaps over his chair, over the table, to the witness stand, threw himself on top of Mary with a knife he smuggled in.
What?
He put her in a headlock, the knife to her throat, and yelled, I want to be with her one more time.
What? Bailiff?
Can you
Where are y'all?
This? He had her on the ground and threatened to kill anyone who came near them, which FBI agents and deputies said, go fuck yourself. And they ran over to rip him off Mary, but not before Ming got a good slash across her face.
What?
The entire
fuck?
I know. The entire room was screaming. Most were crying. The jury was ushered out and Mary was taken to the hospital where she got 62 stitches. She had a 6-inch cut from her chin up her right cheek.
What?
Why was he not chained to the table?
I'm baffled by this. How did he even reach her?
Why, knowing Mary was taking the witness stand, he should have been shackled, chained, frisked before stepping in that courtroom. They have no idea how he got a knife in.
Okay, Jason's dad, yes, you can't. Yes, have a go at him. Just
yes,
no one's gonna stop you. You're at least gonna reach him.
Right. Go on.
Wow.
Imagine that. The judge immediately adjourned the trial, and Ming's attorney asked for a mistrial on the grounds of the jury having to witness this violent outburst. It would be hard for them to remain unbiased, so he argued a new jury should be selected.
Stop.
The judge again said, not my problem.
Right.
Mistrial not granted. You're probably right, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He just made your job a whole lot harder. That's for sure.
He's fucked.
We're not prolonging the trial and selecting a new jury when this was already a very hard jury to select because whatever. And we have a dead 6-year-old's parents to think about. We're not prolonging this trial.
Right.
Absolutely not.
That stands on the same level as, one of his victims testified that he did something wrong and the jury just heard that. So mistrial.
Mistrial.
Yeah. No, what happens in court is why the jury's here. So sorry, your dumbass dipshit client is a fucking monster, but unfortunately
those were the cards you were dealt, sir.
You took the job. You took the gig.
You took the case, man. Which is, by the way, gonna be impossible now. So trial resumes after a few days, and Beth takes the witness stand and essentially says the exact same thing Mary did about how Jason was forced into the trunk, but she added a very heart-wrenching detail.
Damn it.
She said when he opened the trunk to pull Jason out, Ming was holding a bar that was bent,
Oh,
tire iron.
yeah.
And jury's like,
no.
okay, that's all I needed to hear. Thank you. And they find him guilty of kidnapping and second-degree murder. Beat a little boy. I cannot stand this guy.
I know. This better have the most satisfying ending.
Well, a little
I need
boy's
him
dead.
tortured.
So
Well, no, none of it's satisfying. I can't even think of an ending that would be satisfying enough. I need him to be tortured to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would help, but
He
it's
does-
not.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
It
had
doesn't
to be
fix it.
transferred several times for getting his ass kicked for killing a little boy.
Good.
So don't worry. But they sentenced him to 40 years in prison to run concurrently with the 30-year sentence.
What?
I do not understand this.
For
They said
murder?
for murder of a little boy. So essentially 30 years because whatever. It's 40 years, but they deemed like the 10 years on top of Mary and Beth's. I don't even know I don't know the explanation, but it was going to be 30 years. Once he served his 30s, good.
Yeah, and he's 30 years old.
Yeah.
And 30 years
So-
is come and gone. So why don't you just
Well,
keep going and
I
tell me
will
my
keep going.
satisfying ending?
They sent him to a maximum security prison in Marion, Illinois. And when other inmates learned about his crimes, they obviously repeatedly kick his ass.
Hell
So
yeah.
again, he's in a segregated cell away from everyone else. Then he was transferred to a facility in Kansas because of undisclosed statements he made. So I'm very curious on that. It's never been released. But because of his statements he made and due to his violence, he got his ass kicked there too. And when a cop was restraining the attacking inmate, Ming tried to attack this inmate back and damn near punched the cop in the head. So back to isolation for him.
Good.
His only advocate is his mother, who thought that the sentence was too harsh and blamed it on his race. They're just racist.
Okay.
No, he killed a 6-year-old and damn near killed an 8-year-old so her mother would cooperate during her rape.
Right.
Your son's a monster, May. Don't be an idiot.
It does not get worse.
No,
I mean,
no, it doesn't.
wow.
A few years into his sentence, he filed an appeal to have his recordings back.
Okay.
The rape tapes. He wants the rape tapes back,
Okay.
arguing they were his personal possession. And they told him, sure,
What?
the VHS tapes are your personal property. Here they are. And then an exciting Ming pulled out the film from the tape because they obviously weren't going to give him a VCR and TV. So he pulled out the film from the tape and held it up against the light in hopes to see still frames of his disgusting acts.
What?
But he saw nothing because the tapes were completely blank. You can have the VHS tapes back. We've
Phew.
erased everything.
Okay.
When
Wow.
he realized this, he apparently threw himself up against the cell wall and sobbed like a little baby.
Well, he's such a little bitch.
Cannot stand him. The Stauffers moved to the Philippines for several years and retired in 2009. In 2010, he was up for parole. That's 30 years.
Stop.
And Mary and the now 38-year-old Beth was there.
Oh my God.
A doctor concluded that he was still very dangerous and should not be paroled until he completes a sex offender treatment, some program, something,
No.
which he didn't find necessary because he doesn't think he's a sex offender. But his own doctor for the defense side agreed with the state and said, my client should not be free.
Right. Okay, good.
Not one doctor could advocate for him. One testified that as late as 2008, he did not seem remorseful at all. In one session, he stated that it was just a, quote, schoolboy crush gone wrong.
I
Fuck
want
you.
to punch this fucker in the neck,
I
maybe more than anything.
I know. And as for Beth, he said he was good to Beth. And his mother, who was also interviewed, agreed.
Okay, May, get the fuck
yeah,
out of here.
Get the fuck out of here. She is quite the enabler. So he also told a doctor that, quote, I really shouldn't have killed that little boy because he wouldn't have been able to identify me anyway.
Well,
I mean, okay. So they're like, no, you're actually the worst. We're going to go ahead and leave you in here. And
Mhm.
as of 2019, he was serving his sentence at Federal Medical Center in Rochester, Minnesota, where I believe he remains today.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, 40 years has come and gone. And they're like, nah, wait, yeah, 40 years has come and gone.
Wow.
And they're like, nah, we're going to leave you in here. And that is my story of 30-year-old man holding his 9th grade math teacher and her daughter captive for 7 weeks, killing an innocent 6-year-old boy in the process.
I mean, that is the worst story I've ever heard.
I know. And I'm sorry.
Where did you come across it?
I don't remember.
I
Honestly.
And
I think
so
I
we
wanted-
don't know for sure his whereabouts. So that was 2019 then?
Yeah, that's true. That was 2019.
They have inmate records. I can't wait to
know.
Google him. I picture him scrawny. Like, I just hate
Yeah,
him. I hate
he's-
everything.
He's awful.
Wow.
I really
Thanks
have to go.
for nothing.
Horrible, and I know, and God, I couldn't get through that.
Mm.
I think I found it from searching erotomania cases.
Oh, God. Got really specific with that one, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I find the mental, like the psychology behind it, very fascinating. So,
Yeah.
custom shout outs. First one's from Ashley. Happy wedding day to my new sister, Grace. She's also the person who introduced me to PAT dubs.
Thanks, Grace.
We already know people can be the absolute worst, but Grace and Gus are among the best ever. I love you both to the moon and back. Cheers to forever. Aw.
Not happy anniversary.
Happy
Happy
wedding
wedding
day.
day.
Or
Congrats.
if it's already happened, congrats.
I bet it's already happened.
Second shout outs from Melissa. I'd like to congratulate my daughter, Lauren, on her graduation from UNC Chapel Hill. Good
Oh,
school.
wow.
Congrats, Melissa.
Good for you.
Or congrats, Lauren.
Yeah.
With a master's in nursing. Also, while attending grad school, she got her sexual assault nurse examiner certification.
Oh,
She's
wow.
pretty badass. That is badass.
That is badass. You're going to help a lot of people.
Yes,
Good for
you
you.
are. Good for you.
Wow, great school too.
The third one is from, oh my God, it's from a Lauren. What if it's your daughter? What if she shouts you out?
Yeah. I want to shout out my mom. I just graduated.
But she's a nurse too. Oh, she is a nurse. That's weird.
Okay.
Lauren, I love your podcast. I laugh out loud at the back and forth, and it's like listening to me and my sister's conversations.
Hell yeah.
I'm a trauma ER nurse, so I totally appreciate the dark humor. Oh,
Holy shit.
that's good for you.
Oh, God.
Shout out to all the nurses out there. # Nurses Week.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, gosh. And Nurses Week, I think, was a
yeah.
while back. We got a lot of these at once. We have so many nurse
I know.
listeners.
I love it.
I love it. Y'all are badass.
Y'all are badass. Last one's from Chelsea. Shout out to my sister-in-law, also named Chelsea.
Hell yeah.
Okay. On her new Instagram influencing journey at Chelsea Brecher. So it's CHELSEABRETCHER _
Okay.
at Chelsea Brecher _ She's a stay-at-home mom to my perfect niece and has fabulous style. Cape
Nice.
Cod Coastals meets Richmond, Virginia Southern. Oh,
Okay.
check her out. Y'all are the best. People are the worst. Y'all go check out Chelsea.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
Congrats on that journey.
Yeah, fun. All right, new patrons. April, Maggie, Amy, Laska, Carrie, Nikki, Hannah, Cheryl, Trish, Brooke, Sierra, Alessandra, Erica, Maddie, Bubblegum 420, Rebecca 420,
Yay.
Rebecca, Melanie, Fegans, Monique, Soph, Anna, Nikki, Jenna, Nina, and Allison.
Damn.
Thank y'all so much.
Y'all, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Y'all are the best. Ming is the worst.
I have to Google them now. Gross.
Bye.